Good evening. Settle down fast. Settle down fast. You know which subject? Economics. Okay. Okay, fine. Fine. I'll have a brief introduction of mine and then we'll start with our topic. So this is 2024. Okay. So you have a lot of time. No. Oh. Huh? Both come. Okay. So my name is Ram Sudhir. Okay, so brief background of mine is I have experience in public sector as well, BHEL, and then I've done my MBA from Symbiosis, then into investment banking. It's a finance related thing, then state services also. Given UPSC, 3 interviews in UPSC, and currently into teaching. So this is a brief profile. I think more than that is not required as of now. Okay, and as and when we progress, I will tell you all the stories. Okay, and when it comes to economics, basically, everybody feels this is one of the difficult subjects or technical subject. But as far as UPSC is concerned, most of the questions as far as economics are concerned is very, very simple and easy. You have to believe that it is very simple and easy, and I'll also show you. Because in general studies, technical questions are never asked. It is always simple, basic questions that are asked. Okay, so after the 10th class, after the 10th session is over, we can also see the question papers. And you will understand that out of 18 to 20 prelims questions, you will find 15 to 16 which are very, very simple. Very, very simple in the sense that if the basics are strong, then we can mark 16 out of 20 questions right. And if the luck also favors, we will mark 18 out of 20 right. 2 questions you have to give it to God. Okay, so 2 questions it is always, okay, so there is always that element of doubt or luck till the UPSC key comes. And the second thing is you have to enjoy the subject. Enjoy the subject in the sense, don't just read for exam. Of course, you have to read in line with the exam. There is a difference. No, reading in line with the exam means we are going to read. So we are not going to read anything too much other than the stuff that is required for exam. But at the same time, whatever you're reading, you have to enjoy it. And in economics is one such subject where you need not mug up. Without mugging up things as well, by understanding the concept, you can mark the right answers, etc. And everyday newspaper, etc. You can follow and you will get to know what is happening around you. Probably tomorrow your stock market investments will also improve. Definitely, yes. You get to know where government is giving you subsidies. You get to know which sectors are going to do well tomorrow. You'll also get to know which are the stocks where there is some, artificially which are pumped up. These things, there's a lot of knowledge gain which will help you to do investments also in future. But that is not the main objective. The main objective is, of course, to clear the exam and getting the concepts right. Is that okay? So then another important aspect here is there may be few who are already from economics background, like me maybe. Okay, so but general studies economics, we have to stick to general studies economics. GS is basically very less technical, etc. And I have divided our course into something like it will be around 45 to 47 sessions, around 40 to 45 sessions. Okay, and in the first 5 sessions, around 5 sessions would be basics. First 5 sessions is purely basics. Okay, so when I use the word basics here, it is not basic about one topic. It is basic related to the whole economics. The whole economy I will touch in this story. The first 5 sessions would be a story kind of thing, how Indian economy moved, okay, from 1940s till date. And in the process of explaining the story, I will be hitting some economic terms, or I call it as terminologies. And these terms will come again back in every topic. Listen very carefully. So these terms or concepts will again be back in every topic which you are doing subsequently. So it is basically learning what a term stands for in a story format, that's all. So that means when we use the word economic growth, okay, so or we'll not use the word technical term of GDP or GDP calculation in the basics classes, but we'll also try to understand what this GDP is. Are you able to get this? Okay, similarly, how economy has moved, what capitalism is, how and what is the difference between capitalism, socialism, everything. So here, my objective is to hit the term. in the format of story. Why a story? You'll get to know after the 4th class that this story will help you to write introductions in your mains. Are you able to get this? This story will help you to write introductions in your mains. Okay. And another important aspect is the most important sessions of all is these 5 sessions. That means not that all other sessions are useless. But first 5 sessions will give you a background with respect to the terms and terminologies. Tomorrow, after the 6th, 5th session, when I'm getting into the subject discussion, I may be discussing a particular topic and I may get into newspaper, or I may jump from one topic to another topic. Basically, I may pull out a point from another topic because economy cannot be learnt in isolation. Suppose you're talking about growth, you cannot talk just about growth because there can be some other factor which will affect the growth. Are you able to get my point right? For example, today prices are increasing in the economy. I hope that you know that. Okay, there is this term is called as inflation. I'll come to that term also. This inflation. And what do you think would have been the reasons for this increase in prices currently which you see? Last 1 year, price increase was one problem, especially last 6 months. That is, prices are increasing, whether it is oil prices in the market, okay, or food prices in the market. Okay, so when we talk about Russian war, okay, Russian war is one of the important cause for increase in prices, and it has impact on several aspects in the economy. One aspect like price increase will affect several other factors, and that is the reason you can't learn economics in isolation. Isolation in sense, for example, today I ask you a question. When you look around you, do you think, what is your opinion about unemployment problem in India? Unemployment is a separate chapter for us. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? Unemployment is high, low? What is your opinion? High. Maximum. Unemployment is high, low. In comparison to states like Kerala, Kerala literacy levels are good. What do you think? What is your opinion? Unemployment rate is higher in Kerala, where the literacy is almost 100%, or when I take India average, is it high? Kerala में ज़्यादा है. क्यों? Very good. What he says is somebody has to look for work. No, unemployment is somebody has to look for work, and according to him, only somebody who's educated only is looking for work. Yes. Okay. I got your point. But the logic is Kerala is basically a consumption state. You know what is a consumption state? So consumption state with less manufacturing, etc. Okay. So then automatically creation of jobs becomes difficult. Are you able to get this? Okay. And you find that in Kerala, there is many people who go abroad, Middle East countries, etc. And there are remittances that are coming in. You know what are remittances? Somebody is going abroad, sending money to their families. Okay. And with that money, they are spending. They are spending. So the question here is, when a particular state is a consumption state, then automatically creation of employment becomes a challenge. Are you able to get this? So the model which a particular state follows also has an impact on something called as unemployment, or something like the COVID. Okay, so when we look at a particular problem, unemployment can again be linked to something like poverty. Okay, it will have an impact on your consumption, the money which you're spending. I'm using some terms vaguely, I've not started the class, nothing to worry. Okay, so when we look at economics, basically, my suggestion is you should, once the basic classes are over, that is the 15 hours of sessions are over, then you will pick up the newspaper. Of course, now already few of you are very enthusiastic, already would have picked up the newspaper, started reading economics related articles. But after the 15 hours of session, some basic terminologies which are coming up in newspaper, you should be able to decipher them a little. Are you able to get this? Okay, and current affairs becomes very important as far as our subject is concerned. Current affairs becomes very important. Okay, why? Because economics is an evolving subject. It keeps on changing. Concepts remain same. But the topics, issues that are going around, the values and numbers, everything keeps changing. One impact like COVID, all the numbers got changed. We also changed, no? Okay, so during COVID pandemic, our mindset has changed. And when we see, if you solve the previous questions after COVID pandemic, you will find all the answers are going to be different. Okay, so answers for the previous questions also change after COVID pandemic. I'll show you those questions as well. Are you able to follow? Okay, so first 5 sessions would be something like the basics or the terminology. In 2 days, I will give you, there's a terminology book which has most of the terms. But the caution is you will not read now. The caution is because it covers all the terms which will come up in your syllabus. And if you start reading that, you will get confused. One caution, economic terms, not now. Wait for some 10 sessions and then you can complete the terms. Whatever terms are coming in class, be thorough with those terms initially. Second, don't start off with your macroeconomics textbook. Again, I'm repeating, NCERT macroeconomics, most of you would have seen. Don't pick that book up now. You will feel economics is difficult. Once that thought comes to your mind, we cannot excel in a subject. I think you're getting my point. You should feel a subject is easy, and it is true that it is easy. And unnecessarily, you'll pick up macroeconomics textbook, you will see those graphs and numbers, and you will find economics is tough. That is not the case. Not even a single graph is asked in the exam. Not even a single formula is asked in the exam. Whatever formulas that are required, we will discuss. Are you able to get this point? So these are cautions. Two cautions. First caution is that this economic terms is for reference. You will not pick up and start mugging up those terms now. At least wait for some time. Wait for some 4 or 5 sessions, and then yes. Is that clear? Second caution, don't pick up unless you're from economics background. If you're from economics background, it's okay. Otherwise, don't pick up that macroeconomic book, NCERT, and seeing the graphs itself, you're like, oh, this is not my cup of tea. No, that kind of negative mindset. No, I'll tell you from which book you have to start. All those details I will give. Second caution. Is that clear? Clear? No. Third thing which you should be doing, which I will tell you subsequently what has to be done. After every topic is over, you have to go and check the previous questions. After every topic is over, you will go back and check previous questions of UPSC, not the mock papers. Mock papers you can do it later. Mock papers come late. Mock papers are very tough, in fact. Obviously, no. Group of people are putting an effort to make the paper tough. Okay, so, but UPSC question paper is completely different. UPSC question paper will be simple in comparison to the mock test which we write outside. So once a particular topic is over, the first thing you will do, go back, sit with the previous UPSC question papers. This is one more thing which has to be done. Along with that, you will also sit with the UPSC mains question papers. It is basically you're sitting with UPSC question papers initially. Then UPSC conducted exams. UPSC conducted exams, you know UPSC, there's the CAPF and CDS, and these are UPSC conducted exams. So our order would be first learn the basics. Once the basics, we are good with the basics, we will check the UPSC question papers, prelims and mains, and then UPSC conducted exams. UPSC conducted exams, something that is conducted by UPSC. For us, UPSC is the benchmark, no? Okay, so UPSC conducted exams. If we are able to solve, that means we are okay. If we are not able to solve, that means somewhere there are some gaps, we have to fill those gaps. I think you're getting my point. So this is the first thing. This is very important aspect. Okay. Now, coming to the books. Do's and don'ts. No macroeconomics now. Textbook. What was the other thing which I mentioned? Terminology after 4 or 5 days. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, it will be uploaded. Okay, so slowly you will read. Okay. And which you have, what you have to do is basically checking previous question papers of UPSC and UPSC conducted exams after the particular topic is over. These are the 3 things. And most important is syllabus. Everybody, I think many teachers would have told you. Okay, syllabus in mind. Once I know the syllabus in mind, I will know which article to spend time, which article I should not be spending time. Suppose there is something on food processing in news. Yes, food processing is in news in our syllabus, so I will spend time on food processing. If there is nothing related to, but you will read about corporate news, etc. So too much of corporate Adani Group, suppose Adani Group, some terms, etc. you should be learning, that's all. But getting into depth, like what are the assets of Adani, liabilities of Adani, all that is not required. So how do you know where to focus, where not to focus? It's very important. So that you get to know once you see the syllabus and question papers. So within 15 to 20 days of our classes, syllabus and question papers have to be checked. Around 60 hours, 20 days, 20 sessions. So by that time, almost like you can go through most of the questions. Okay. And after the 20th or the 22nd class, you can also download the topper sheets. That is the next stage. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay. So when it comes to the reference books, okay, so one is Indian Economic Development NCERT. The first book which we will start, this is NCERT only. This is Indian Economic Development. Indian Economic Development NCERT. The first book to be read. Daily 2 pages, 1 page, whichever, like whatever is convenient for you. So this is the first book to be read. Now for prelims, I suggest a book, but if you don't like or you have already purchased something, then it is up to you. Okay. For prelims, there is a book called Indian Economy by Shankar Ganesh. It is a very small and easy to read book. Okay, so already you have purchased some book, then it's okay. Don't buy this. Okay, if not purchased anything, then you can look into this book. Ramesh Singh, it is bulky. So that is the reason I have not suggested, but you have purchased it, you want to read, it is up to you. I'm missing, I don't suggest because it is heavy, too heavy. Why so much? For efficiency. What is the effort we are putting? What is the output we are getting? Got the point, right? Okay, so for mains we can read. For mains, what has to be read, I'll talk about it. So this is Shankar Ganesh. This is one suggestion. No, we have already have some other book, then also that's also okay. Any book, but stick to one book for prelims. Okay. Then any word you have a doubt. Suppose a new word terminology comes up in the newspaper, or in our booklet we have some new words coming up. So there what you should be doing is, Sanjeev Verma sir's book also is fine. That is for mains basically. This is basically you have the concepts. Okay. So suppose what I was saying. Terminologies you will check in the Investopedia, like the Wikipedia have Investopedia. You type, you get this only. Okay, so in this Investopedia, you will check, suppose there is a word like inflation. The word inflation, you want to do some research, you will type, you will get some data. And you will not go below the first paragraph. Caution, most important caution. Generally, I know how you study. Okay, from there you go to YouTube and then you come back. And by the time you come back, it is almost 1.5 hours. Okay, it should not be like that. Don't go below the first paragraph. First paragraph will tell you what the word is. And you'll only understand what the word is. Stop there. Calculations and then that's not for you. Okay, so Investopedia, you have a doubt with respect to a particular word, you can type, and Investopedia tells you like, wow, this is what is inflation, this is what is economic growth, this is what is development, this is what is poverty. That's all. You're not digging deep into Investopedia, because from the second paragraph and the third paragraph, the calculations may start, technicality may start, which is not required for general studies. You're not preparing for optional. This is for general studies, so it's not required. I think it is clear. Okay, so but any word you are coming across in the newspaper, you have a doubt. Okay, so this is the best. Then coming to mains. So there is no specific book as such for mains, because most of the time we write answers from newspapers and things like that. Okay, you don't have a specific book, but if you want to read something like, for a reference kind, a particular topic you want to read, there is a book called Mishra and Puri. It is a heavy book, so you'll not read the whole book. But Mishra and Puri is a book where it is not purely written for UPSC. Not purely written for UPSC. Okay, so but it has, for example, we understand that agriculture is a very important topic. Why? Because you see most of the questions in UPSC are there from agriculture. So along with current affairs related to agriculture, you will select agriculture and probably you will read agriculture from this area. Are you able to get my point right? It is not for a general reading, but what you will do is you will read it for specific topics, whichever you feel like reading, whichever is important, you can read Mishra and Puri. Anyhow, I'll be dictating notes, complete notes. And that notes will be sufficient, but still if you want to add on something, etc. So that one is current affairs material, and another one is you want to get a detailed note, then Mishra and Puri. Is that okay? Yes, so this is one more book. And then newspaper, obviously Indian Express. I'll not suggest Hindu, but if you're reading Hindu, it's okay. Indian Express, explained column. That is fantastic. As far as understanding, somebody's written Nitin Singhania. Nitin Singhania also okay. We respect all authors. We respect all authors. Nitin Singhania, moreover, is an officer. So all due respects. You can, if you have purchased it, yes, go ahead. Okay, then don't buy this. Finish. Leave this. Okay. Okay, so Indian Express is better because especially the explained column, any economic related article comes up, it is in line with UPSC. It is in line. Hindu is little anti-government. Okay, so that attitude will develop for you, which is not good. Okay, so that is the reason I suggest Indian Express, more balanced viewpoint probably. Okay, so but still Hindu also, if you are reading Hindu is also a good newspaper obviously for UPSC, then it's up to you. 2, 3 don't read, not required. 1, more than sufficient. Okay, and then obviously I have to write one thing last, my notes. I have to write this also, no? What about vision material? Okay, read. Yes, you have to. You read vision material as well, yeah. So if you're reading vision material, leave off Mishra and Puri. Reduce the load. Reduce the load. You're able to read and understand easily, then that is your material. Got my point, right? You're able to read and understand easily, that is your material. If you're reading and not able to follow, that is not your material. As simple as that. That is, you are the judge. And yes, if you are able to read, yes, our material is scientifically prepared. Okay, but don't read it for the first 5 days, 6 days, wait. Once the words are clear, then start. Somebody writes vision notes. This is what, vision material. And my notes is also vision notes only. Okay, fine. Till here, I think it is And then at the end, we will read budget and economic survey. Budget and economic survey, this is at the end, basically don't think about it now. First get the concepts right, and then at the end, budget, economic survey, all that we can read. This is the last. We'll do it last. If you stick to the class notes, it is sufficient. I'm coming to that, wait. Generally, our preparation style, I will tell you, students generally, in the initial classes, no, first 5-6 classes, the Josh is very high. Like you want, like I say, like, sir, you read Shankar Ganesh means what about Ramesh Singh, what about Nitin Singhania? Shall I read 2 newspapers, 3 newspapers? It is basically like a progressive graph. You know, what is a progressive? You will say like every day, my preparation will go like this. Okay. But after 6 months, after 7 months, after 8 months, in fact, now when the prelims is coming, now prelims is coming. So students, do you think one textbook, if we revise it, is okay? Do you think your notes is sufficient? Yes, our notes is sufficient. Sir, can you tell any important topics in your notes? Important topics in your notes. Now, this is very important. Huh? Same students like you only. So initially you say one book, what is a small book? You are not interested in reading small books. You want big books. Okay, fine. Now the graph becomes regressive. Regressive. That is basically you want to cut down. And then old questions of UPSC prelims, is it sufficient? Okay, then which important topics for prelims? Then I should say 4 or 5 topics are there, national income, etc. That you do, it is more than sufficient. Then they get a boost. Now, better would be, both are wrong. We are expecting that you go ahead like this. This is better. Minimum, consistent, long-standing, then we'll win the battle. Who stands long, consistently will win the battle. Like this you go, you fall like this. No use. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay, so decide on the material, decide on the notes, and once you're able to solve the questions, that's your material. Finish. Is this clear? Okay, so this is the reading thing, and then once this is over, then I will tell you what to read in the macroeconomics textbook. Okay, macroeconomics textbook at the end, I will tell you after our classes, almost like we are doing, then I will tell you like in which areas you will read that macroeconomy, which textbook, what has to be read, etc. Micro you can leave. Micro basics I will discuss in class, that is sufficient. Okay, so don't get into too much details of microeconomics. And still if you want to read, you read. But macro at the end. Is that clear? Yes. The first 5 days basics class, there will not be much of dictation. Now again, in the basics class, listen very carefully. Basics class, no much dictation. Only the terms and terminologies I will be mentioning, and wherever it is required, I will extend that word. Anyhow, you will get the copy of the basic words and terminologies. That copy is there, economic basic terms. So no too much of dictation in the basics class, because we have to cover the basics from 1930 till 2018. So we'll be hitting all the words. And then once every topic starts up subsequently, then we start the main topic. Each and every area I will dictate. I think you're getting my point. After the basics are over, the 5 basic classes, every topic there will be dictation. I hope it is clear. Okay, so this is one more aspect, which because some students may not be like, you want dictation for the basic word. Suppose inflation itself, one word, if I start dictating, then we will not be in a position to learn the basics. Is this clear? Okay, let's get into our discussion now. As far as exam is concerned now, coming to the exam, in which all places like our economics will be there or useful. So you have to look from which all perspective. So when you're reading something, what should my perspective be? So this is very important. The first thing is, when we talk about prelims, Indian economy, basically you get somewhere like 17 to 22 questions. It can go to 16 sometimes, it can go to 22, 23 sometimes. Okay, so overall you get 18 to 22 questions. And remember, we can solve at least 18 out of 21, 22. That means efficiency is higher in a conceptual subject. Efficiency means I put in effort, I get the result. I think you're getting my point, right? Efficiency is what I put in effort, I learn the concept, I get things right. I'm not commenting on other subjects. There are efficient subjects as well, but conceptual subjects, he cannot give something which is from somewhere out of blue. The question can't come. You learn Bharatanatyam and go, and something like Kuchipudi comes up. Okay, so if you're there is huge scope. No, there are big subjects, huge scope. Here the scope is limited, concepts are less. So once the concept is clear, then the marks should come. I think you're getting my point. So the target also would be 18 out of 20. Okay, then second is in the mains portion. In the mains portion, we have one is the GS3. In this GS3, Indian economy plus agriculture. Indian economy plus agriculture will be around something like 10 to, I can say 9 to 11 questions. 9 to 11. It varies. Sometimes it can be 8 or 9. Okay, sometimes it can be 10. Or sometimes it can be 8. Okay, so the number of questions that keep coming. I'll tell you when to refer to mains and all. We have a lot of time, not now. Okay, so the mains question that is in the GS3, if we are good with our Indian economy, okay, so around 10 questions definitely we can do justice as far as economics is concerned or the Indian economy is concerned. Because this paper has other things also. Is this clear? Okay, and then if our understanding is good, the third area is basically essay. Of course, last 2-3 years, there's only philosophical essays that are asked. Philosophical essay is a difficult kind of essay. Philosophical essay, I think you know what is a philosophical essay. Okay, last 2-3 years, okay, so wantlessness is utopian. Okay, but materialism is a chimera. Okay, so first of all, the sentence itself we don't know. Okay. Okay, so this is called as a philosophical essay. And all the essays are philosophical last 2-3 years. But if you observe till 2017, every year there will at least be one economic essay. Of course, economic essay means you will not write only economics. You will look at it from a different perspective. We'll talk about it later. But you have topics on essays on poverty. We have essays on something like capitalism. For example, in 2015, there was one essay called "Can Capitalism Be Made Inclusive?" Can capitalism be made inclusive? I'll talk about it later. Can capitalism be made inclusive? Okay, so the word capitalism, okay, or the term capitalism, I'll talk about it. Today we'll start with that only. So can capitalism be made inclusive? This was an essay. Or there was this essay, poverty anywhere is threat to prosperity everywhere. So this is basically something related to a topic called poverty. Okay, so poverty. Of course, poverty we will read in Indian society and GS1 as well. Okay, so poverty anywhere is threat to prosperity everywhere. It's an English line, no? Poverty anywhere is threat to prosperity everywhere. And then growth and development, all that inclusiveness, you will find essays on a consistent basis which are there. Or for example, today we are reading about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Heard of this word? Atmanirbharata, self-reliant India. So self-reliant India, is it myth or reality? There can be an essay. Self-reliant India, is it myth or reality? So when we talk about self-reliance, all our topics in economics will be helping us to write an essay there. For example, with respect to energy, is India self-reliant? Can India manage on its own? When it comes to health during COVID pandemic, did we have enough capacity to manufacture our own vaccines? When it comes to energy, when we talk about renewable energies like wind, do you think India is capable? You have one of the largest coastline. Are we reaping the benefits of it? Are you able to get this? So that means when you are reading some articles in the newspaper, when you are reading economics, one is the prelims perspective. Another is a GS3 answer. GS3 answer, something like writing 150 word or something like a 250 word answer. That's all. Then comes the essay. The essay part basically, so when you are collecting data, there are some significant areas. Significant areas means these are the areas which are important for next 3 to 4 years. When I use the word significant means there will be questions for next 3 to 4 years. For example, self-reliant India. If I'm collecting data on this topic called self-reliant India, if I'm collecting some content on self-reliant India, it will not go waste for the next 2.5, 3 years. There is something like current affairs. There is something like significant. There is a difference between current affair and significant issue. For example, GST is a significant issue. GST, Goods and Service Tax. So every year from 2017, there was one or the other question on GST. Are you able to get this? So GST is a significant issue. So there are significant issues where comprehensively I will collect material and notes. So overall, suppose there are 10 significant issues, we will be preparing notes on these 10 significant issues comprehensively. Not on every topic, you need not prepare comprehensively. Are you able to get this? No, 6 pages material in and out of self-reliance I will write. Why? Because anywhere I will use it. I'll use it in my GS answers, everywhere, wherever possible I can use it. Are you able to get this? So this is one more important area, and that is basically note making, which I will talk after some 10 sessions are over. How to prepare our notes. No notes from NCERT as of now. NCERT itself is a notes now. Okay, so as of now, wait. Okay, so note making. So significant areas, we will prepare some notes, and that should help us in essay. It should help us in our mains GS3, and it should also help us in our prelims. When you're comprehensively reading something, no, automatically it will also help you in your interview. Economics is a topic which they can ask in the interview as well. I think this is the scope of the topic and use of this subject. I should tell you, no, capitalism is something like use based. I have to tell you, like, this is the use. So when you're reading also, the perspective is very important. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay, so that's all. Reference list. subject usage and how you will, the perspective of your mind slowly. Is that clear till there? Okay. So when we talk about different nations following different economic policies, or when we use the word capitalism as such, today you would have heard of the word capitalism. I start off from here only. So when I use this word capitalism, so earlier there were countries which are capitalistic, and there were some countries which were promoting something like socialism. Okay. Now whenever you come across this word called capitalism, what comes to your mind is a question, obviously. So when I use the word capitalism, what is that comes to your mind? So one is what? Profit. Okay. So somebody has mentioned profit. When I use the word capitalism, so the word profit comes to your mind, and somebody has mentioned something like private sector. Okay, private sector. Okay. So then what else? Division of labor. Okay. Division of labor. Okay. Okay, वो क्लास के बारे में बाद में. Okay, division of society. Open economy. Production. Okay, production. In socialism, there's no production. Mass production. Okay. Okay. So one more word. Somebody has mentioned a word here, that is market. I'm writing the word here. Market. Okay. Somebody has mentioned a word called market. Okay. What is this market? I'll come to it. Anything else? When you listen to the word capitalism. Okay. Private ownership of property. I'll put it that way. Private ownership of property. Okay, fine. Then? So less government control. So very valid point. So I'm writing something like less government control. Less government control. Government is controlling. Government's control will be less. Somebody has written Adam Smith. Okay. Yes, yes, very true. So Adam Smith. Okay. So now the question comes up. Okay. Hard work is rewarded. Okay. So his work, his hard work or talent is rewarded. I'll put it that way. Rewarded. Okay. Is that okay? Now, when I use the word market, now capitalism in a capitalistic society, first thing what we should understand is government's control with respect to economic aspects. Government's control will be very, very limited. That means government will not tell you what you will produce, how much you will produce, or at what price you are going to sell the product. Are you able to get this? Suppose a simple example, if I give 1 acre of land to all of you and I say produce, and each one of you produced as per your capacity, okay, and you started gaining the benefits of your production, you reap the benefits of your production. Somebody who is using modern machines, somebody who is more skillful, he is able to produce more and he is able to move faster. And somebody who is not in a position to produce, okay, so he is going to lag behind. Are you able to get this? So in capitalism, an aspect called as efficiency. So when I listen to this word called capitalism, you have to come across this word called efficiency. With minimum amount of resources, you have to generate maximum amount of output. Efficiency is that, so we're reading 18 hours a day and we are not clearing prelims, first case. Reading 3 hours a day and still we are in. Efficiency is higher in the second case. So capitalism always believes in something called as efficiency. Are you able to get this? Capitalism believes in efficiency, new technologies, efficiency, etc. Is this clear till here, everybody? Now the question comes up, why today? Why is it that today capitalism has survived over socialism or communism? Are you able to get my point? Suppose I use the word communism. In the same example, I give you 1 acre of land to everybody and I ask you produce. And I collect it from all of you and I distribute it equally among all of you. You work according to your capacity, but you will be provided according to your need. You work according to your capacity and talent, you produce. I will collect whatever you have produced as a state and I will distribute it equally among all of you, but you will be provided according to your need. This is what communism believes in. That doesn't mean communism has worked out today. Today it's a victory of capitalism over communism. Today it's a victory. So for example, there was this essay, history is a series of victories of a scientific man over romantic man. This was the essay. History is a series of victories of scientific man Scientific man means what? Logical man. Over romantic man. Romantic man is emotional man. Okay, are you able to get this? Now the question comes up, why is it that capitalism has survived? Or you can find, even in India today, it is capitalism? Yes or no? We have moved towards capitalism. Okay, across the globe, you will observe that capitalism is dominating. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not using the word good or bad. I'm saying you find that capitalism, there's a victory of capitalism over others, like for example, socialism or communism. What do you think is the reason for that? Huh? Efficiency. Is it efficiency? Globalization. Competition. That's why capitalism survived. Hard work is rewarded. Capitalism is very close to basic innate nature, our innate nature, that is selfishness. Capitalism is very close to our innate nature, that is selfishness. Listen very carefully. Adam Smith says this, okay, in his book Wealth of Nations. Capitalism survived and it will survive because capitalism is very close to our innate nature, human nature, which is about selfishness. Selfishness is generally humans have survived, the sapien, Homo sapien, we only. We have survived because of selfishness, and that is our inherent quality. Altruism is not your inherent quality. I think you're getting my point right. Altruism is something which we learn, no? Every religion talks about it, and it is good. We're not saying it is bad, but inherent quality of human being is selfishness, and capitalism runs on the concept of selfishness or self-interest. Capitalism runs on the logic of self-interest. And that is why when I say you produce according to your efficiency, but I will distribute it according to your need. Tomorrow what you will do, you will say I will not produce. Why should I be efficient? When I am producing, anyway I have to give it to the state and state will distribute it. Why should I be efficient? Are you able to get my point right? So that is one of the main reasons. Globalization, all that is secondary. All that is secondary. So a capitalist was more of a scientific man. History is a series of success of scientific man over romantic man. Romantic man is emotional. So when I say Adam Smith was a kind of a scientific man. Adam Smith was a kind of a scientific man. And he says the driving factor for capitalism is going to be obviously self-interest. Driving factor for capitalism is obviously self-interest. Are you able to get this? Okay, so what he says is everybody is working towards his own self-interest. Everybody is working towards his own self-interest, but ultimately it will lead to the establishment of an organization. For example, suppose any organization that has to stand, you need land, you need labor, you need capital, and you need the entrepreneur or the businessman. Are you able to get this now? Now getting to any organization, any firm we are talking about, any firm requires, a small or a big firm, it works on these 4 factors of production are required for any firm to stand. These 4 factors of production. So these are the factors of production. So any firm that has to stand requires land, requires labor, requires capital, requires a businessman who will bring all these things together. Are you able to get my point? So any firm which has to stand. Okay. Now why is the land given just like that? No, nobody gives land just like that. What he will get? Rent. Okay. Why is the labor working? Just like that nobody will work. He is also working for his own self-interest. Labor is working for wages. Okay. Capital is given for doing business because of what? Interest. And the entrepreneur is going to, that means everybody is working for their own self-interest, but ultimately an organization stands and keeps the economy moving. Are you able to get this? Okay, so there was this discussion during COVID. Many big companies or many colleges pulled out their teachers and because COVID. So I met one, there was one meeting with, of course, one big organization head. I'll not name the organization. Okay, so I asked them like, why it is a more than 8,000 crore empire. Okay, so why are you pulling out labor? Why can't you keep the labor? Because it's a crisis. Okay, it's crisis. Why don't you take care of the labor? This is my question. Actually, this is the question. Okay. Or even the Cave Coffee Day. Cave Coffee Day. He committed suicide. Okay, Vijay Mallya is happy, smiling. Now, if you make an observation, I asked him a question. Why are you retrenching, pulling out labor? Okay, so then the question, the answer came out. Why are you pulling out labor? Okay, I'll do one thing. Ask them to work free for 3 days. Ask them to work free for 3 days. I will change. I will change. That was his logic. He says this attitude, it's not that I don't have money. This attitude which is coming up, that aspect of welfare, which is coming in my mind, probably may not be beneficial for my industry in the long run. Now listen very carefully. It's a very important answer. When you talk about Cave Coffee Day owner who has committed suicide, he was a very hardworking person, very hardworking, very committed man. He goes to morning 8:30 to the office and night 10 o'clock. Friends were given share in the company because the ex-IAS officer, chief secretary, who was sitting on Cave Coffee Day, I had to meet him in terms of resolving the conflicts of Cave Coffee Day after his death. His wife has done a commendable job now, reviving Cave Coffee Day. Now the question is, more than 20,000 employees were working at the lower levels. Not even a single woman was fired, though the profits were not coming. Though the profits were not coming, he did not pull out even a single employee. Now listen very carefully, Cave Coffee Day. Okay, so Jim, there it is like, of course there may be other issues like tax, I'm not talking about that. Okay, so here, when profits are not coming, if you are not removing the labor, if you're putting on burden on your head, okay, the companies may collapse in the long term. So that is the reason capitalism basically, or businesses which are based on capitalism, are ruthless. Are you able to get my point? I think you're getting my point. I'm making a point here. So everybody talks about welfare. Welfare is good only. I'm not talking about welfare is bad. But there is a fundamental logic in capitalism. That fundamental logic is 1, self-interest, 2, profit motive. Profit motive. Is this clear? Understood. Now the second question, if government is not asking you how much you will produce and what you will produce, then what is going to decide what you are going to produce in capitalism? In capitalistic societies, okay, so in capitalistic societies, if government is not asking you to produce, okay, then obviously it is the market that is going to decide what you will produce. It is a market. Are you able to get this? So market will decide what you are going to produce, and at what price you are going to price a particular product is also decided by the market. Okay, when I use the word market, NCERT definition of market is, it is a place where buyers and sellers meet. It is a place where market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. For example, when we talk about Amazon, Amazon creates a marketplace. Amazon is going to create a marketplace for buyers and sellers to meet. Amazon is creating a marketplace. Amazon is not producing, logically speaking. You're only creating a place where buyers and sellers are going to meet. And market runs on the basic fundamental of demand and supply. Today, no graphs. First day, no? First day, no graphs. I will not confuse you. Second day, third day, some graphs will draw. Few. Okay, so demand and supply. So market runs on the concept called what? Demand and supply. Is this clear till there? Okay, so this market will decide. When I use the word demand, what is this demand? What is demand? Your requirement. If you have requirement, is it sufficient? Pasand nahi, paise. It is not only about willingness to buy a product, but also your ability to pay. Not only willingness to buy. I also want a Lamborghini. I want it now right away. But what is your income is the question. Are you able to get this? It is not just about your willingness to buy, but it is also your ability to pay. This is what is demand. Demand is not just dependent on your willingness to buy. It is also dependent on your ability to pay. So both together. Are you able to get this? Okay. Is this clear? Is this clear till here? So now the words that have come up. One is I've used the word capitalism. Okay. And I said in capitalism, basically, we have written 1, it runs based on the logic of what? Profit motive. 2, in capitalism, government control will be as minimum as possible. Is that okay? Capitalism is driven by fundamentals of market. Fundamentals of market. Market is a place where buyers and sellers meet, and market runs on the concept of demand and supply. Demand and supply. Okay. Adam Smith talks about important aspect in capitalism. Capitalism runs on a basic fundamental of self-interest, and capitalism believes in the principle of efficiency. Capitalism believes in the principle of efficiency. Efficiency is with minimum amount of input, I want to maximize my output. Today, that is what most of the companies are striving for. Okay, this is what is the difference between working for Google or working for government. When you're working for a company like Google, simple logic, if you are okay with efficiency, it is sufficient. I need to be efficient, that's all. I need not worry about other factors like effectiveness or equity. I'll talk about it. I'm only worried about efficiency. Today, government organizations are also working towards what? Efficiency. Government organizations are also working towards efficiency. Is this clear? Okay, so then we have come across a word. For any firm to stand, you need something called as what? Factors of production. And we have mentioned 4 factors of production. 4 factors of production. 1 is land, 2 labor, 3 capital, and 4 entrepreneur. Is that okay? And for every factor of production, there will be a factor payment that will be made. There will be a payment that will be made. For land, the payment that was made is rent. For labor, it is wages. For capital, it is interest. For entrepreneur, it is what? Profit. Is that clear? Is that clear? Till here, I think things are clear. There is no confusion. Okay. The word capitalism is clear. Okay. In capitalism, efficiency will come because hard work is rewarded. You can keep the profit to yourself. So automatically you will strive to become more efficient. You will strive to become more efficient. Now, one simple question I'll ask you. India just after independence, Nehruji, in spite of being Western educated, he did not adopt principles of capitalism. Nehruji, in spite of being Western educated, he did not adopt principles of capitalism. Isn't it? Why? I got the question. Is the question clear? Nehruji, after independence, India, though he is Western educated, he did not adopt principles of capitalism. Is there any logic for that? Okay, concentration of wealth and poor. Okay, fine. Many poor are there in India. Yes. Yes. The historical experience of capitalism is very bad. Our experience with capitalism itself is very bad, and also influence of Russia. Okay, influence of Russia. Yes. So yes, that is the point taken. Anything else? Indian businessmen, our private sector. What he says is our private sector is not capable that point of time to take up the load. Are you able to get this? Okay, now the question comes up here. The next question comes up here. Okay, what do you think are the negatives of capitalism? Okay, is this clear till here? So that means India did not adopt principles of capitalism after independence. Okay, it means in India basically we adopted some other principle which I'll come to, but we did not adopt pure capitalistic measures. Okay, so that means there are some inherent problems in capitalism as well. So what do you think are going to be the challenges of capitalism? So rich will get richer, poor will get poorer. That means this capitalism may increase something called as inequalities. Are you able to get this? Simple. Okay. Now when I use the word market, market runs on what? Demand and supply. Demand and supply. Now demand is not only about your willingness to buy a product, but your ability to what? Pay. Suppose you do not have the paying capacity. Show me one commercial ad. Show me one commercial ad where you have a poor man, except the election ad. Forget about elections. That time you suddenly show, oh, agriculture. Okay, not the election ad. Forget about the election ad. Show me one commercial ad. Motorcycle ad, laser ad, whatever it is. You find models. And even an LIC ad. LIC Jeevan Suraksha. You will find a middle class wife and husband. Husband goes to office with a tie, nicely tucked, clean shave. And then this wife gets a dream, suddenly husband is no more. And then comes Jeevan Suraksha. This is what? You have not shown somebody who is staying in a hut or somebody working in the farm, suddenly getting heart attack, falling off, and that poor lady struggling, what my future is going to be. That is not that. The commercial ad, even for life insurance, is a middle class man going to office. It shows even for life insurance, it is part of demand. We only need those who have the ability to pay. If you do not have the ability to pay, you are outside the market. You do not have the ability to pay, you are outside the market. And we are least bothered with respect. Even spirituality is also in the market space. Go to Baba. Okay, you have to pay. All the front seats are filled by foreigners. They have enjoyed everything, so they don't know what to do now. Okay, so the question is, now it is part of the market. It is part of the market, part of demand and supply. But there are very poor people in India just after independence, drain of wealth theory. Many outside, even today, there are people outside the market. And that is the reason bureaucrat should not be corrupt. Because if bureaucrat is corrupt, if the politicians are corrupt, basically, who is going to get affected? Somebody who's outside the market is going to get affected. Somebody is here, I don't need. I can manage. It is somebody who's outside, who does not have the paying capacity, but he also requires health. He also requires basic education. He also needs to live a dignified life under Article 21 of the Constitution. That means somebody who's outside the market, who's excluded from the market, then he will suffer. So market will basically address wants. Demand is what? Wants. Market may not address needs. Need is something like the basic need. Are you able to get this? I am hungry. I need a plate of rice or roti. I need KFC only. Now this KFC is want. I think you're getting my point. So market may not address needs. Market may only address what? Wants. And that is a negative. In India, after independence, our needs have to be addressed. Many people were poor. There was starvation. Okay, so needs have to be addressed. And I cannot leave needs to the market straight. Needs to the market means part of demand and supply. Are you able to get what I'm trying to say? Is that clear, everybody? So that is also a negative. That is also a negative. I hope it is clear. The word market is clear? Okay. Then what else? What else? If capitalism is going to become too popular, okay, capitalism, monopoly with respect to capitalism is risky. Monopoly with respect to single seller. Monopoly with respect to government is okay, but monopoly with respect to private, for example, Jio. Jio has become Maro for many. Airtel is gone. Okay, so initially they said free, no? In India, if you say free, you are finished. In India, if you say free, means FF finished. Okay, all other companies were struggling. Initially, you know the model of Jio. Okay, so monopoly with respect to government is always, private is always risky. So excessive capitalism leading to profit, it can also lead to exploitation. Excessive profit, exploitation. Profit is never bad, but greed or trying to maximize profits. Example, Nike. Don't wear Nike shoes. 18 hours they make women work and then they will put a tick mark. Just do it. Okay, and billions of dollars are spent on this. Billions of dollars. And labor is exploited. 17 to 18 hours of work in developing and LDCs. Nike never manufactures shoes in a developed nation. Nike manufactures shoes. Why labor costs are cheaper in developing nations? Okay, employment is getting generated, but not 18 to 19 hours work. I think you're getting my point. So what I'm saying is exploitation, excessive profit motive will lead to exploitation. Negative of capitalism. Is that okay? Concentration of wealth. Market may not address needs, basic needs. Monopoly with respect to private is always risky. And excessive profit motive can lead to what? Exploitation. Is that okay? Is this clear? Understood what the word capitalism is? Understood the word market? Okay, and understood the word demand? Okay, so we'll just jot down the words which we have discussed till now. Is that clear? Oh, okay, first word, capitalism. Capitalism. Just write 1 or 2 lines, just bullet points. Government control is less. Government control is as minimum as possible. Okay, next point. Market is the invisible hand. Market is the invisible hand. Market is the invisible hand that drives capitalism. Capitalism runs on the logic. Capitalism runs on the logic of profit motive. Capitalism runs on the logic of profit motive and self-interest. Okay, next point. Capitalism believes in efficiency. Capitalism believes in efficiency. These are some basic aspects of capitalism. Then put heading market. Market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. Market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. Buyers and sellers meet. Market runs on the logic of forces of. Market runs on the logic of forces of. You can write market runs on the concept of demand and supply. Market runs on the concept of demand and supply. Okay, then put the heading demand. Demand is just not willingness to buy. Demand is just not willingness to buy. Demand is just not willingness to buy, but also our ability to pay. But also our ability to pay. Is that okay till there? Okay. Then put the heading factors of production. Factors of production. Don't expand it too much because already it will be there in our slides. You can just write there are 4 factors of production. There are 4 factors of production. Land, comma, labor, comma, capital, and entrepreneurship. Is that okay? Then put factor payments. Factor payments. Next point. Factor payments. Factor payments. See, any firm that has to exist, you require these 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, factor payment. Just mention for land it is rent. For land it is rent. Labor it is wages. Capital it is interest. And for entrepreneur it is profit. That's all. I think till there it is clear. Is this clear till here? Okay, let's move forward. I hope it is clear till there. Okay, so now before this, now what do you think are the, first let me complete one more aspect. What are the positives? Positives, are there any positives of capitalism? Last area, positives of capitalism. One is efficiency. Today, if you see the best of the best entrepreneurs, like you talk about Elon Musk or you talk about Steve Jobs, okay, or you talk about Bill Gates, the best of the best entrepreneurs are basically from capitalistic countries. Okay, why? Because there is more scope for innovation. There is more scope for innovation. Is that okay? If you take, of course, in India also, we have very good entrepreneurs, but comparatively, if you talk about innovation, definitely you have the best of the best entrepreneurs coming from the developed world. And capitalistic countries were able to handle poverty better than other countries. They were able to handle poverty better than other countries. We are talking about positives here. Positives. Okay, capitalism basically when you say, so these countries were able to handle poverty. Of course, you may say, sir, population in these countries is less. Accepted. But these countries were able to handle poverty better than the developing nations. Okay. And then when we talk about capitalism, when we talk about the voting process, who is more logical? Is a poor man more logical or emotional? Emotional. For example, you don't have one square meal to eat and therefore all the freebies will be motivating. So of course, freebies are anyhow motivating for anybody. So you're saying, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. Or emotion means here, when we talk about our voting patterns, in poor countries, voting pattern is more driven by emotion rather than logic. Emotion can be, our election patterns basically, emotion can be towards religion, emotion can be towards caste, etc. Are you able to get this? Okay. So in US, of course, Trump has played this emotion card, no doubt about it. But when we talk about capitalistic countries, their voting patterns are more logical than emotional. Voting patterns are more logical than emotional. Poor is the country, more emotional it will be. So I'm not saying being emotional is bad. Here, emotion over rationality. So you don't have a rational voting pattern. This is what I mean. Rational voting behavior is not there in a country where there is more of poverty. In capitalistic country, you have rational voting behavior. A particular person has come to power, I am not benefiting out of it, then I take a decision based on logic. So I'll not play emotion there. I think you're getting my point, right? Yes. And capitalism has led to increase in wealth creation. See, Ratan Tata could help people during COVID because obviously, of course, one is he's a fantastic man, no doubt about it. But along with that, you have created an empire, you've made a very profitable business, and from that, yes, you're able to give. So the question is, if you don't create wealth only in the first place, then how are you going to take care of the masses is the question. So wealth creation is a healthy pursuit as stated by Kautilya. Kautilya's Arthashastra, even today, which is one of the renowned entity. So Kautilya's Arthashastra believes in capitalism, or Kautilya supports market. Kautilya supports. Kautilya says king should not interfere in business. Leave business to economic fundamentals alone. Don't regulate. So Kautilya is a very strong believer of market, or Kautilya was a very strong believer of capitalism. Are you able to get my point? So Kautilya's Arthashastra clearly talks about wealth creation as a healthy pursuit. It will not say wealth creation is something which is wrong. Definitely wealth creation is a healthy pursuit. Nothing wrong about it. So this is what Kautilya's Arthashastra talks about. So India, it's not that India before 1940s or earlier days, it was something like purely socialistic or regulated. So Kautilya clearly mentions that king should not. And Kautilya is a very practical man. Very practical man. He says kingdom should be as big as possible. When it comes to business or when it comes to kingdom, kingdom should be as big as possible, because only when the king speaks from the position of power, then only the subjects will listen to you. Suppose UPSC aspirant, powerless. Obvious. So you see something wrong happening. Okay, you want to complain. You don't know where to complain, what to do. Now this is the question basically. Maybe a district collector sees something there in the street. Probably the administrative machinery may be there ready in another 5-10 minutes. So I'm just talking about when you speak from positions of power. So positions of power and stability comes through bigger kingdoms or bigger businesses. So expansion is not wrong according to Kautilya. As simple as that. Are you able to get this? I think you're getting my point. Okay, so this is clear. Wealth creation. What about Gandhiji? Gandhiji believed in capitalism? No, Gandhiji said there are enough resources for people's need, but not for their greed. This is a statement of Mahatma. So this clearly shows that Gandhiji was not too inclined towards core capitalism. Gandhiji was not too inclined towards core capitalism. Gandhiji did not believe pure socialism also. Socialism is something like government ownership. So Gandhiji did not believe in government ownership as well. Gandhiji said, be a trustee. Okay, even the government land, government should act like a trustee. You know what is a trustee? So you are not the owner of the land. So the factors of production should not be under your control. Government also. Gandhiji believed that government will act like a trustee. Are you able to get this? So Gandhiji's logic. I'm talking about positives here. Any other positive? Capitalistic countries, more efficiency, more scope for job creation. Employment, more companies like Google and all that, Microsoft, more scope for job creation. So there are definitely benefits of capitalism. Not that capitalism is useless. Obviously not. But we have seen the negative side and we've also seen the positive side. I hope it is clear. Is this okay till there? Okay, fine. Now, fine. So India adopted principles of socialism. Okay. And one important thinker is Karl Marx. Okay, and when I use the word socialism, of course, India's socialism was quite different from erstwhile USSR. So Russian socialism was completely different. India believed a milder version of socialism. India believed in a milder version of socialism. When I use the word socialism, it is nothing but you have more of what control? Government control. So government will control something like economic fundamentals, whether at what price a product has to be sold, how much are you going to produce, etc. So these things will be handled by whom? Government. These things will be handled by government. Are you able to follow? Okay, so socialism, basically government control will be more, and socialism is adopted in those countries where inequalities are high. India after independence, basically, you have to handle something like economic problems like poverty. Issues are there with respect to life expectancy. Life expectancy? Okay, so we were very bad with respect to aspects like health, education, okay, issues of starvation. So these things cannot be left to the private sector. These things cannot be left. These are developmental aspects, no? Huge amount of poverty, huge amount of unemployment or life expectancy, health issues, etc. So, and already we had a very bad experience with respect to capitalism or East India Company, obviously. And we decided that For welfare, government will be the front runner. Government will drive the economy. Who will drive the economy? It is government which will drive the economy. It will not be left to the private sector. You are not leaving it completely to the market. You are not leaving it completely to the private sector. Is this clear? Are you able to get this? You know that booklet has all these words, nothing to worry here. Are you able to follow? Okay, so here what we should understand is government, basically government's control. Okay, government decided that it will run, or it is the government entities, or we call them as PSUs, public sector units, which will drive the economic fundamentals. So India's growth or Indian economic prosperity will be handled by PSUs. Unlike today, today, for example, in the previous budgets, our madam has mentioned, Nirmala Sitharaman madam, madam has mentioned that government has no business to stay in business. Madam made this statement, government has no business to stay in business means over a period of time, we are going to privatize even profit-making PSUs. It's a clear indication that even profit-making public sector units are going to be privatized in the future. During COVID also, we said maybe privatization would be slowed, will be reduced, but once the COVID is gone, we will resort to privatization. So whether it is right and wrong, we will talk about it later, but it is a clear opposite of what was stated during just after independence. After independence, we decided that our economy will grow through PSUs, which is also called as PSUs-led growth, which is also called as what? PSU-led growth. That means these public sector enterprises will handle the major industries like iron, steel, whatever it is. It will be handled by PSU. Unlike 1950s and 60s, today we find that government is more inclined towards what? Privatization. Are you able to get this? There's a difference. There's a difference. We'll not talk about what is right, what is wrong. We'll try to analyze it later. But during that point of time, we decided India will focus on PSU. Okay, and our socialism is quite different from erstwhile USSR, and we used a word called mixed economy. Now, this is one more word that has come up in our discussion now. So, mixed economy. Story is important, words are even more important. I think you're getting my point right. Okay, so market is a word, demand is a word. Okay, capitalism is a word, monopoly is a word in our discussion, in that story. Is that clear, everybody? Okay, so when I use the word mixed economy, that means our socialism was quite different from erstwhile USSR. We said we will follow mixed economy, means it will be a combination of both. It will be a combination of both, that is capitalism plus socialism. Combination of both means here it is basically, it is a combination of private plus public sector. So what is mixed economy? Okay, mixed economy is nothing but both public and private sector moving hand in hand. Both public and private sector moving hand in hand. So our socialism was quite different from erstwhile USSR, as we mentioned that both public and private sector will move hand in hand. Are you able to get this? Though we mentioned it on paper that public and private sector will move hand in hand, but our policies were more inclined towards favoring which sector? Public sector. Our policies were more inclined towards favoring public sector or PSUs. Is the word mixed economy is clear? Mixed economy means what? Both public and private sector moving hand in hand. I hope it is clear. Put the word socialism. Socialism. Economic fundamentals are regulated by government. Simple lines. Economic fundamentals are regulated by government. Economic fundamentals can be price, production, whatever it is, all that is regulated by government. So in bracket write high government control. Is that okay? Then next point. Socialism focuses on reducing inequalities. Socialism focuses on reducing inequalities. And handling developmental problems. like poverty, health, education, etc. Poverty, health, education, etc. Next point. India adopted a PSU-led growth model. What is growth? I will discuss tomorrow. India adopted a PSU-led growth model. India adopted a PSU-led growth model. PSU-led growth. Is that okay? PSU-led growth model. Is that clear, everybody? PSU-led growth model. Okay, India adopted a PSU-led growth model. Okay, then put the heading mixed economy. Mixed economy. Both public and private sector moving hand in hand. Both public and private sector moving hand in hand. Is that clear? Okay, now the question comes up here. Now, thinkers like, listen very carefully, thinkers like Adam Smith, okay, they believed initially, there was a belief, countries like USA also believed that capitalism is a solution or a panacea for all the problems. It is a solution or a panacea for all the problems, all the challenges which are there in the economy. They believe that capitalism can solve anything and everything. Okay, capitalism can solve anything and everything. This was a blind belief which US had up till 1930s. Up to 1930s, till 1930. Okay, so where there was economic crisis. I'm not using the word depression. I'll use them at a later date. I'll use the technical definitions like recession, depression later. Okay, so 1930, there was economic crisis in US. Till that point, US believed that capitalism can solve any problem. That means they believe that capitalism can be a panacea or a solution for any problem that can come across. But this belief got a hit in 1930s when the economic crisis came up in US and they observed that capitalism failed. They observed that capitalism failed, and they also understood that we also have to depend on some principles of, what? Socialism. At times when there is a requirement. Today you don't find a completely capitalistic nor completely socialistic economy. So we'll find countries like US are more inclined towards capitalism. India just after independence was more towards socialism. India today is more towards capitalism. India today is more towards moving towards market, isn't it? India is moving more towards market. Okay, India just after independence was more government regulated. Are you able to get this? More PSU driven, more government regulated. So here 1930, US understood, and most of the economists were saying the main reason for the crisis in US was mainly because the demand in that country was continuously falling. Demand in that particular country was continuously falling. There's a fall in demand. Now one more question to you all. Have you heard of stock markets? Okay, stock markets. What is the benefit of having a stock market? What does stock market help? What is the benefit of stock markets for companies? Revenue. So for example, if we have to do business, Shark Tanks you have seen? Very good. Nowadays everybody is watching Shark Tank and he says, I have an idea. Now. I will do that. I will do this. Okay, blindly. Now, if you have to do business, there are two ways of doing business. One way of doing business is by taking loan. I'm using a word here. One way of doing business is raising debt. I'm taking loan. So, and another way of doing business is you are selling away your ownership. You are selling away your ownership in a company. Shark Tank, what? You go to the shark and you say, I have an idea. If they like your idea, they will say, I will put 1 crore. You give 20 or 30% of ownership in your company. Are you able to get this? So what are they doing? They are buying equity from you. They are buying equity or ownership. They are buying equity or ownership. They are buying a share in your company. They are buying a share. If you are holding one share in a company also, it means you are part of the company. isn't it? If you're holding one share also, it means you are part of the company. Part of the company means if the company is going to make profits, the benefit of profits will be given to you. But if the company is going to make losses, you also have to bear the loss. As simple as that. No, you're becoming part of the company, you're becoming part of the ownership means if you are making profits, you will get the benefits of the profit. But at the same time, if the company makes losses, you will have to bear the loss as well, isn't it? So the first and foremost thing what you do is, whenever you want to do business, your first option is, maybe you may ask parents, they'll say, go, study, write UPSC. Parents and family, first option. What is the second option? Second option is basically, you may go to a bank. Okay. Bank, if you go to a bank, if you go to an SBI manager and tell him, I am from IIT Madras, I have 1,000 crore idea in mind, keep my certificate and give me loan, he will say, namaste. Because SBI is government bank, basically, it cannot take that risk. And you say your idea is in your mind. So obviously, you cannot depend on whom? Banks. Ratan Tata can take loans from a bank, but not you. I think you're getting my point. So bank. Or there is another aspect through which you can raise money, that is called as bonds, which we will discuss maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, not now. So these are bonds. That means I can borrow from parents and family or banks as of now. I'll talk about this later. Or I can issue some shares, or I am selling my ownership. I am selling my ownership means I am selling equity. A company is issuing shares, and when you buy these shares, the company is getting enough capital for doing business. Why is the company issuing shares? Let's say I am the company, I issued shares. Each one of you have paid me 10,000. Okay, maybe each one of you have purchased some 1,000 shares, whatever it is. Okay, so that means here I am issuing shares, or the company, by issuing shares, it is raising what? Capital for doing what? Business. So I can take loan, borrow and do business, or I can sell my ownership and also do business. As simple as that. Okay, and these shares are basically traded in the stock exchanges. You can buy these shares, and trading means what? Buying and selling. Trading is nothing but, the word trading is nothing but buying and selling of shares. When I use the word trading, it is nothing but buying and selling of shares. Okay, so this happens where? In the stock exchanges. In the capital market class, I will dig deep into stock markets, not now. Okay, so trading means buying and selling of shares. Now you've understood debt is what? Loan. Okay, equity, share or ownership. The words are clear? Okay, now see here. During 1930, when the economy was not doing well in US, now the question comes up, when the economy is not doing well and the private sector wants to raise money, for doing business through the share market. Through the share market means it wants to raise money through equity. Will people buy? Suppose during COVID companies are not doing well and they are issuing shares. Will you buy? No. You will only buy with the expectation that you will make money tomorrow or you will earn profits. When the market is not good, you will not show any interest. Similarly, when the private sector decides to raise money by issuing shares, people will not be interested in buying these shares during economic crisis. During economic crisis, when the economy is not doing well, companies say, we are issuing shares, we are making losses, but it's okay. You please buy my shares. With your capital, I will do business, and tomorrow I will grow. You also grow along with me. This is a big challenge. Are you able to get this? So when the economy was not doing well, the private sector was finding it difficult to raise capital. The private sector was finding it difficult, obviously, to raise capital. You cannot raise capital easily. Banks will be hesitant to give loan. During COVID, do you think banks will be very much interested in giving loans? Regular times only, if you give loan, it never comes back in India. Today, most of the public sector banks are struggling because there are a lot of problems like NPA. I'll talk about NPA later. But if you're giving loans and not paid back, and during crisis, they will be even more careful. So getting loan is difficult, and also raising capital through issuing shares is also difficult when the economy is not doing well. I hope it is clear. Is that okay, everybody? Now see here. Now, during 1930s, when the private sector was not doing well, they were not able to raise capital through, why? Because during that point of time, the stock markets collapsed. Economy is not doing well, stock markets will not do well. Okay, so raising capital will become difficult. Then will the private player be able to produce more or produce less? No capital means the private player will not be in a position to produce. So production will be less. If production is less, will we recruit more people? No. First thing is he will kick out people. Existing jobs are also gone. There's no job security. It is not government. Okay, so when they're not doing well, they will retrench labor. Jobs are gone means what will happen to purchasing power? Purchasing power will come down, or it will decrease or increase? Your paying capacity is going to come down. So when purchasing power is going to come down, what will happen to demand? Demand is going to decrease. Everybody, I hope it is clear. Demand is going to decrease. When the demand is less, will the private player produce more? When the demand is less, there are no buyers, will he produce? No, he will not produce. When there is no demand, he is not going to produce. If he is not producing, jobs will not get created. If jobs are not getting created, again demand is going to be less. And this vicious cycle continues. On one side, you will have job losses. On one side, you have job losses. Are you able to get this? For a very long period, you will find people are losing jobs. And the cycle is not getting revived. Demand is continuously going down. Market has failed. What is market? Forces of demand and supply. Market is nothing but forces of demand and supply. So these forces of demand and supply have failed in this particular case for a very long period. Tomorrow I'll show you the graph, not today. But you're able to follow? Is this clear? But what if there is existing supply? There is already some existing supply in the market. There are goods, but there is no demand. So that means supply is more than what? Demand. As simple as that. There are no buyers, but there is existing production which is there in the market. There is existing production. That is already products are there in the market. Supply is there. Nobody is buying. If a shopkeeper has a lot of goods, but there is no demand, what will he do? He will give discounts. Buy one, get one free. Okay, or 10% off, 20% off, all that he will do so that he will offload his inventory, so that he will offload his goods. He'll push off his goods as soon as possible. I think you're getting my point. So that means when the supply is more than demand, obviously you will observe that the prices in the market are slowly going to fall. Are you able to get this? More products are there, demand is not there for the products, so slowly prices tend to fall. Is this okay? Okay, so prices are falling. Now the question is, don't think this price fall is good. Don't think this price fall is good. On one side, people are losing jobs. On the other side, prices are falling. This is a very dangerous situation. So this fall in prices, now the word comes up for our discussion. This fall in prices is called as deflation. Now one more basic word. Deflation is what? Fall in prices. I told you the story and background word is important. So when I use the word deflation, what is the meaning of deflation? There will be fall in prices. Whenever the economies are not doing well in the developed world, on one side you will find that the prices are falling. On the other side, you will find people are losing jobs. Today's US, basically, everybody is talking about, of course, I'm not defining what is recession and all in the basics class now. We'll discuss it after 2-3 days. But when I use the word US economy is not doing well, US understands it. And US never reveals totally till it is completely in. You know, some of the people started losing jobs in US. Yes or no? Some big employees, popular directors of Microsoft, etc., they started losing jobs in US. Okay, so now the understanding here is US also, not this situation, but yes, US is not okay as of now. That's what we can observe. So now here if you see, when I've used the word deflation, deflation is what? Fall in prices. Deflation. The word deflation is what? Fall in prices. Similarly, one more word. The word inflation is nothing but increase in prices. Simple, basic words. Basic. Okay, so deflation, fall in prices. Inflation, increase in prices. Okay, now one more word is disinflation. Now we'll try to understand this. This is disinflation. It is nothing but fall in inflation rate. Fall in inflation rate. I'll explain the difference. Okay, now first I want you all to understand, is this clear? Generally when the economic situation is bad, okay, now you have understood that the forces of demand and supply has failed here. This is nothing but capitalism failing. That means demand and supply, they are not adjusting by themselves. Demand and supply, they are not adjusting by themselves. Supply is more, demand is not there, and the cycle is going on, continuing. Now that is the time when they have understood that we should also adopt some principles from socialism. One of the principles from socialism, obviously, is something like government's interference. Now when the demand and supply is not doing well, something has to be done. Now who is going to do that something? Is basically obviously government. But government interfering into economic fundamentals, is it part of capitalism or socialism? Are you able to get this? Is this clear? So government interfering into economic fundamentals or to break this cycle is something like a principle which you are taking from socialism. Socialism, government will interfere. So government has to do something in this case so that this cycle will break somewhere. This cycle has to break somewhere. So what can the government do in this case? Buy equity. Buy equity is a difficult thing. Government will try to create demand. Okay, so what he says is government should try to handle this area. One aspect is government will try to handle this area. That means once you revive this, now his logic is something like once this gets revived, the private sector will start production, jobs will increase, and the cycle will be okay. So government's focus will primarily be on this aspect. You have to change this demand which is not there. Government will try to create some demand in the market. Are you able to get this? So government tries to create demand. How can government create demand? One aspect here, probably government can give, listen very carefully, government can give subsidy. You know what is the word subsidy? Okay, so government can give subsidy from its pocket to the producer. One example is government says, fine, we will give subsidy. We will put some money from our pocket. You start producing. This is one option. Option is there. Government says, I will subsidize. Okay, so your 500 rupees product, I will pay 150 from my pocket. I will subsidize you. You start producing. So government is spending money from its pocket. Government is using its budget. Government is using its budget, spending money from its pocket to increase production. Is that okay, everybody? Okay, that is one. Second, what can government do? Government can come up with saying, we will reduce tax rates. Suppose government says, for on individuals, let's say earlier you are paying 10% tax, now just pay 5%. Just an example. So everybody knows what is tax. Now government says earlier you are paying 10% tax. Now we have reduced your income tax. So from 10%, let's reduce it to 5. You pay less tax to the government. You will have more money in your hand. When you have more money in your hand, your purchasing power will increase. By doing this, government's expectation is your purchasing power will increase. If your purchasing power is increasing, the demand for products is going to increase. And if the demand for products is going to increase, then again the private player is going to produce. The private player is going to produce and this cycle is going to be okay. So here also, one thing is government is subsidizing. Government is subsidizing the company to produce more, or government can reduce tax rates for companies also, or government can reduce tax rates for people like us so that we will pay less to the government and we will start buying more products. So demand will increase. Government may come up with Atmanirbhar Bharat packages. Are you able to get this? Okay, so government will say, okay, fine, you are not doing well, so we'll give you some packages or money from pocket. Are you able to get this? Is this clear, everybody? So that means government is basically trying to spend money from its pocket. I can tell you that the government is trying to spend money from pocket. During COVID pandemic, don't you think government would have spent more from its pocket to handle the crisis? Yes or no? So government would have spent hell a lot of money on welfare, and also government has to take up the responsibility in terms of building the infrastructure also. It's a headache for the government. Are you able to get this? Okay, so in this case, so here government is using a policy related to its budget to break this cycle. Okay, this policy is called as fiscal policy. Now the word has come up. This policy is called as what? Fiscal policy, which is a separate topic for our discussion. It's a topic. As it is, it's a separate chapter for us. So government is using its fiscal policy, or government is using its budget. Government is using its budget to break this cycle. Is that okay? Understood? Government has used it. Now, instead of government doing it, if it is done by the Reserve Bank or the Federal Bank in US, okay, so it can be done by government's budget, which we call it as a fiscal policy. The word fiscal policy. You want break or something? Because students' expressions are changing, so I thought, okay, so 5 minutes, I'll give you a break. I'll 15-minute break I will give, don't worry. Okay, 15-minute break, but I'll give it after 5 minutes. Interest rates is okay. Interest rate is not government. See, wait. See, in basics class, listen. What he says is, if government lowers interest rate reduction is not government's work. It is basically bank in India. RBI is there, no, Reserve Bank of India. Interest rates in India are decided by banks only. We'll talk about it later. So here what he says is, through the banks giving easy loans, cheap loans if banks can give, he will take loans and produce. That is what he's saying. Yes, that is basically not fiscal policy. Okay, so that is monetary policy. I'll not put all the words in one go. Okay, so here government is using its budget. Government is using its budget or government is using its fiscal policy. So fiscal policy basically deals with, one, it deals with the money that is moving into government's pocket. Money that is moving into government's pocket, which I'm calling it as receipts, incoming. And it also deals with money which is going out of government's pocket, money which is going out of government's pocket, which is called as expenditure or payment. Are you able to get this? Government is using fiscal policy to break the cycle, or its budget. Budget has what? Incoming money into government's pocket. It also has the outgoing money which is moving out of government's pocket. Is that okay? So how government will earn money and how government is going to spend. This is receipt, incoming money moving into government's pocket. This is spending. So suppose government is giving more subsidy, means government is spending what? It is spending from its pocket. It is nothing but expenditure. Government is reducing tax rate, means government is getting less collections. Indirectly government is pumping money also by reducing tax rate. You're reducing tax rate means money is not moving into government's pocket. Are you able to get this? So here in this example, we have not used the word monetary here. Let's not use it as of now. But fiscal policy is used. So here, when US was not doing well, 1930, when they believed that capitalism was a panacea, it will solve all the problems. Here, capitalism failed. Means forces of demand and supply have failed. Forces of demand, then they understood that capitalism may fail. Obviously, that is the time when you have to use some policies which are outside the market. And you're using fiscal policy means you're using government's policy. So government support is nothing but a fundamental of socialism. Government is trying to restructure this. Government is going to revive this. So they have understood that yes, capitalism may not survive always. There can be troubles for capitalism. And that point of time, we'll use principles of government's interference. Now here, government has interfered through its, which policy? Fiscal policy. Government has interfered through its fiscal policy to revive this particular cycle. Is that okay? Is that okay? And what is fiscal policy? It deals with money moving into government's pocket, incoming, and money moving out. In detail, we'll discuss any of fiscal policy. That's, so have taxing and all that. But incoming money, okay, receipts, and spending is nothing but what I'm spending, outgoing money. So fiscal policy has been used by the government. And before we take a break, 1 minute, here I've used, because I have to continue from here. So I've used a word called deflation. Deflation is what? Fall in prices. To inflation is rise in prices. I'll make you write from here. Okay. Shall we start? Yes, sir. So put the word deflation. Deflation. Just mention fall in prices. Fall in prices. Inflation. Increase in prices. Increase in prices. Disinflation. Disinflation. Fall in inflation rate. Fall in inflation rate. Disinflation. Fall in inflation rate. Now see here. Suppose in 2016, this pen is costing 100 rupees. Okay. In 2017, this pen became 90. In 80, it became 85. Means this is an example of what? Deflation. This is an example of deflation. Now for suppose, in 2016, the pen is costing 100. In 2017, the pen became 110. Inflation rate is how much? 10%. In 2018, it became 111.1. Just an example. Okay. So what is the rate of increase? 1%. 1%. Are you able to get this? So was there inflation from 16 to 17? Yes. From 17 to 18, was there inflation? Yes. But the rate of inflation has decreased. Rate of inflation has decreased. This fall in rate of inflation is nothing but disinflation. Is that okay? Fall in rate of inflation. Disinflation, fall in rate of inflation. Is that clear? Okay. Then one more word there, stagflation. One more word there, stagflation. So stagflation is nothing but you have inflation on one side, prices are increasing on one side, okay, and on the other side you have problems of unemployment. This is not good. You have inflation on one side, prices are increasing, people are losing jobs, but prices are increasing. Are you able to get this? People are losing jobs on one side, but on the other side there is inflation. Rice is becoming costly, wheat is becoming costly. So it is something like it creates problem, it creates misery. Okay, so stagflation is nothing but inflation plus unemployment. Is that okay till there? Okay, then write fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, the word there, fiscal policy. Fiscal policy deals with receipts. Fiscal policy deals with receipts. In bracket, write incoming money, receipts, and expenditure, in bracket, write outgoing money of the government. Okay. Next, write fiscal stimulus. Just write fiscal stimulus. Fiscal stimulus. One more word there. Fiscal stimulus. Stimulus, STI. Stimulus. Is that okay? Looking for spellings? Fiscal stimulus. Okay, just write down government pumping money into the economy. Government pumping money into the economy. Government pumping money into the economy through its fiscal policy. To revive the economy. Which is not doing well. To revive the economy which is not doing well. See here, basically fiscal stimulus can be done when the economy is doing well also. Okay, but generally it is done when the economy is not doing well. Are you able to get this? Here when I am saying stimulus means government is pushing money. It can be through subsidy from its pocket, or government can push money by reducing tax rate. If the company is falling, government can give them some package. Take this money and don't fall. Yes or no? Take this money, we'll fund you. Okay, so now all this is what? Fiscal stimulus. Are you able to get this? All this is part of what? Fiscal stimulus. I hope it is clear. Okay, so word fiscal policy, fiscal stimulus, inflation, deflation, and disinflation, and stagflation, I hope it is clear. Okay, the word should be clear. You should know what the word is. Tomorrow you are coming across a word called fiscal policy of the government. Okay, so it is nothing but the budget of the government, as simple as that. It deals with the money moving into the government's pocket and money moving out of the government's pocket. As far as basic is concerned, that is more than sufficient for us. Is that okay? Increasing expenditure is one aspect of fiscal stimulus. Increasing expenditure. So government is increasing expenditure in the format of giving more subsidy. Okay. Or it can do it by giving some bailout packages. I'm not using those bailout. So that means the company is falling, collapsing. So what is the problem if big companies collapse? For example, General Motors or such big companies, if they are about to collapse during some financial crisis in US, this will create huge unemployment problem. Are you able to get this? When economy collapses, when companies also collapse, it creates huge unemployment problem because people lose jobs, they are on road, purchasing power is not there, demand will get affected. Are you able to get this? So one way is, let's say government is funding the company from its pocket. funding the company from its pocket, from its budget. That is also fiscal stimulus. Is that okay? Is this clear? Understood? Okay. So the words are, I hope the words are clear. So here, let's move forward. Now the question comes up, India adopted principles of what economy? Mixed economy. What is mixed economy? Both public and private sector moving hand in hand. Now, just after independence, India adopted principles of socialism, and our socialism was quite different from erstwhile USSR. We said we came up with principles of mixed economy. Okay, now I'll ask you a question. Is it better for you to be a bureaucrat during the British period or just after independence? I don't know how many of you have seen RRR movie. So in that, the hero Ram Charan is basically, he has IP there. IP is Imperial Police. Okay, so is it better to be a bureaucrat just before independence or just after independence or today? Today, why? Because that is the only option you have. I'm just asking you, imagine you have an option to become a bureaucrat or a IAS officer. Okay, people like Subhash Chandra Bose have left IAS just like that. They said, you keep it with you only. Okay, so great people. Now the question comes up here, what is the answer for that? Just after independence, you will say, I know, because British period, again, you lose your impression. Okay, so just after independence, why? Because in the socialistic era, the bureaucrat is more powerful. In the socialistic era, bureaucrat is more powerful, isn't it? In the capitalistic era, of course, today also bureaucrats are powerful. That is why you guys are preparing, I know that. But in comparison to 1947, if I take today, bureaucrat is not almost God. Here, bureaucrat is almost God. For example, if you have seen this movie, Guru. Guru is basically Abhishek Bachchan and Aishwarya Rai, long back before their marriage. Okay, it's long back. It's an old movie, quite old for you. And it was a story of Dhirubhai Ambani. Okay, and in that movie, basically, there is one scene which clearly shows there's one IAS officer who's reluctant to allow expansion of business. That means he wants to produce more. You want to come up with more mills or whatever it is. Now, for increasing production, also you have to take permissions from the government. That means government means bureaucrat, government control. Unless and until the officer allows you, you cannot increase production. Now, that means in the socialistic era, it was the period of license Raj. It is an era of license Raj. What is the meaning of license Raj? Government started controlling industries in the form of licenses. In the industry class, we will discuss almost all our industrial policies before 1990. Most predominantly 1956 industrial policy. All our industrial policies were they were trying to promote something like license Raj. What is license Raj? If you want to start a particular company, you have to take a license from obviously government. Government means bureaucrat there. Or if you want to increase your production also, you are not going to produce according to the market. You are increasing your production also. You have to think of something like license. So it was an era of license Raj. In an era of license Raj, setting up business and becoming successful is very difficult. That is why Dhirubhai Ambani is great. No doubt about it. So setting up business during the license Raj era and taking it to the next level is not an easy task, which he has done. Are you able to get my point? So era of license Raj means you are coming up with setting up new business or you are increasing your production. You need to take license from the government or government control is going to be on a higher side in the socialistic era. So India after independence, we adopted principles of socialism. That means government control on industries was on a higher side, no doubt about it. So there were a lot of restrictions with respect to entrepreneurship. New entrepreneurs cannot enter easily in the era of license Raj. In the era of license Raj. Are you able to get my point here? Okay. So what we should understand is, of course, bureaucrat, there are changes with respect to the functions of bureaucrat. During the British period, basically, the British period, bureaucrat's primary function. What do you think would have been the primary function of the bureaucrat during the British period? One is collecting land revenue plus maintaining political stability of the alien government. Alien here is British. political stability of the alien government, and collecting land revenue. These are the two functions. So you need a machine. Bureaucrat should be a machine. He has to take orders and implement as the government says. You should not think. No personal values. Implement, that's all. Whatever is told to you, fire means fire. Finish. I think you're getting my point. But after independence, another important aspect that was added to bureaucrat was the developmental function. So developmental function means here we are talking about something like welfare. When I use the word development here, bureaucrat has to handle poverty, bureaucrat has to take care of the lower sections of the society. So all these are basically developmental functions. Are you able to get this? Okay, so an additional responsibility on the bureaucrat along with this after independence, which is about development. This is called as development function. So development function means he should focus on handling poverty, implementing schemes of the government, focusing on welfare, etc. Okay, so I think you're getting my point, right? Is this clear, everybody? Understood? No. So obviously bureaucrat was earlier, it is something like if he focuses on efficiency, it is sufficient. But in development, it is not just about efficiency. He also has to focus on effectiveness. So government policies should be more effective. Government's policies should be more effective. What do I mean by effective? Suppose you are constructing a dam. The purpose of construction of a dam, there will be a purpose for constructing a dam. For example, when you are constructing a dam, what is efficiency with respect to constructing a dam? You are constructing the best possible high quality dam at least possible cost. Means you are going to be efficient. High quality dam at least possible cost means efficiency is achieved. This is the first thing. Even private sector works on this. Now when I use the word effectiveness, what is effectiveness? Effectiveness is something like, if I have decided, because of the construction of the dam, the outcome is to irrigate 1 lakh hectares of land. This is the outcome. This is the outcome of constructing the dam. This is the outcome of constructing a dam. That means when I say effectiveness, if the dam which is constructed is able to achieve that desired outcome, that is irrigating 1 lakh hectares of land, that means you have achieved something like effectiveness. Are you able to get my point? And for the bureaucrat, along with these two, he also has to take care of equity. He also has to take care of equity. When I say bureaucrat, equity and equality are not same. Yes or no? What is equality? All are equal. Equity is equals will be treated equally, unequals will be treated unequally. The logic is equals will be reservation. Okay, so equals will be treated equally, unequals will be treated unequally. The logic of equity here is bureaucrat has to side with the poor. Bureaucrat has to side not with the rich. In reality that happens, no. Bureaucrat has to side with the poor or the vulnerable sections of the society. But in reality it is reverse. So that means out of 1 lakh hectares of land that is irrigated because of the dam, how many hectares of land really belong to the poor? This is what is equity. How many hectares of land belong? This is called as equity. So equity from the bureaucrat's perspective. I think you're able to get this. So that means when we talk about functions of a bureaucrat kept on evolving. So before independence, there's one function. Okay, so mainly collecting land revenue and political stability. That's all. Okay, so that is, so bureaucrat need not have any kind of emotions there. No emotion required. Orders given, implement, finish. So here comes an aspect of effectiveness and equity. So this is the basic difference when you're working for a public sector and when you're working for a private sector. So this is the basic difference between a manager working in a corporate company and a bureaucrat who's sitting there. I think you got my point, right? Is this clear? Understood. So in the era of license Raj, where did this go? It's okay. Now here we have talked about something like efficiency, effectiveness and equity. The words are clear. And I was talking about bureaucrats' functions and I used the word called license Raj or regulation through licenses. Regulation through licenses. Is that clear? So government just after independence, okay, one, we decided to come up with focusing on PSUs to be the main drivers of our economy. First thing. Second, it was an era of license Raj. That means if you want to set up new businesses or expand businesses, you need to take licenses from the government. You need to take license from the government. Is that clear? Era of license Raj. Okay, and there is a change in role with respect to bureaucrat, because he has to focus on development, which includes welfare, means you should focus on implementation of schemes, etc., which is also one of the important aspects of socialism, taking care of the lower sections. So the role of bureaucrat has changed. Okay, and then I've used two different words here. One, I said bureaucrat's role should focus on, one is effectiveness, which talks about outcome. Okay, and also equity. And equity focus should be mainly with respect to poor sections, not the rich. Efficiency is common. Efficiency bureaucrat should have. Others also, Google head also needs efficiency. Economy also, both can have. Economy is at less prices you're doing it. So all that, but these are the differentiating factors. Now, India just after independence, the situation of the country, on one side poverty, talking about starvation, etc. Okay, so we decided to come up with principles of socialism, and therefore in the planning process, the first 5-year plan, separate planning I will do afterwards, so the complete planning. First 5-year plan, our focus was on what? Agriculture, the first 5-year plan, because you observe that there is starvation deaths. Okay, so becoming self-sufficient with respect to basic requirements like food grains became a challenge. Basic requirements like food grains became a challenge. Are you able to get this? So self-sufficiency with respect to necessities became a challenge. With respect to necessities, we should never be dependent on others. If you're dependent on others with respect to necessities, it will create problems of sovereignty. They'll say tomorrow we'll stop this. Okay, and automatically India has to abide by the rules imposed by other countries. Same with us also. If you're dependent on necessities with somebody, they will impose some conditions. You can't be free, as simple as that. So because to handle the starvation, etc., since India was not self-sufficient, India was dependent on cheap food grains that was coming from US. Okay, US was running this scheme called Public Law 480, PL 480. One more word here, PL 480. PL 480 is Public Law 480, through which US was giving cheap food grains at throwaway prices. Are you able to get this? No. Why US gives just like that? US is a very intelligent and a cunning country, and never it can give something just like that free of cost. It believes in capitalism, obviously. Okay, so US was one thing is US was giving these grains in rupees only, because we did not have dollars and all. So PL 480 is a scheme with respect to which India was dependent to handle its hunger problems, and therefore India should increase its domestic agricultural output. India should start focusing on something like its agricultural output. In the first 5-year plan, we said we will focus on what? Agriculture. We decided to focus on agriculture, the first 5-year plan. But immediately in the second 5-year plan, our focus shifted towards heavy industry. Immediately in the second 5-year plan, our focus shifted towards heavy industry. We wanted to focus on basic industries like iron, steel, etc. Okay, now logically speaking, though we mentioned on paper that in the first 5-year plan we will focus on agriculture, we did not significantly do anything with respect to agriculture till mid-60s. I'm repeating this. Till mid-60s, nothing significant India did with respect to agriculture. Though on paper we said, yes, in the first 5-year plan, our focus will be completely on agriculture or the primary sector. We said we will focus on agriculture. Okay, why? Because you are dependent on PL 480, and we wanted, because in India other sectors are not developed also. You cannot think of other sectors other than agriculture, and therefore initially we said we will focus on agriculture, rural economy. So focus on the agriculture was the primary target. But what we should understand is, though on paper we mentioned agriculture, nothing significant we did with respect to agriculture till mid-60s. I hope you are able to follow. Is that okay till there? Is that clear? Okay. Now, in the early 60s, basically in the story, if you try to observe, in the early 60s, what happened in the early 60s? There was drought, there was starvation, people were dying. And what we observed was, we thought that the population growth will reduce. We expected that population will grow at 1.5%, but population was growing at a rate of 2.3, more than 2.3, even during drought. Population was growing more than expected, but economy was growing less than expected. Okay, we thought that economy will grow at 5%. Okay, economy will grow at 5%, but economy was growing only at 3%. I'm not using this word because I've not used the word GDP till now. Tomorrow's class, I want to use it. I don't want to use it today. So, economy was growing at less than expected, but population was growing at a rate of more than expected. So, the biggest challenge is during this point of time is how can India ensure something called as food security. Now, this is a chapter in our syllabus. I think you're getting my point. Fiscal policy, the word is clear. The chapter, that is one chapter. Okay. Food security is another chapter. Inflation is another chapter. I hope you're able to follow. Inflation is another chapter. Industry, license Raj, industry is another chapter. You're only mentioning the words of the chapters, that's all. Okay, so here I think it is clear. So food security became a challenge for India. Why? Because tomorrow if a similar kind of drought is going to come back, can India really be in a position to handle this? This was what was the situation in the early 1960s. Is this clear, everybody? Okay, so some drastic change has to be brought in during this point of time, and therefore what we did is in 1965, India, we came up with an institution called as Food Corporation of India. This is a timeline kind of thing. So India came up with this, heard of this word? FCI. FCI is nothing but Food Corporation of India. So the purpose of setting up this institution called FCI is we wanted to hold some extra food grains. We want to hold some extra food grains. We want to hold some extra food grains which we can use during the crisis. These extra food grains, when you want to use it tomorrow, like in early 60s, if there is a drought. Okay, so if there is a drought kind of situation, then how do you manage? Okay, so you need to have some excess stock, extra grain, or we use the word called, FCI can maintain something called as a buffer stock. Buffer is something like extra. Buffer is nothing but extra, or FCI has to maintain some extra food grains. Are you able to get this? So tomorrow, if there is a crisis like this, which can come up again, we can temporarily use this buffer stock to manage the crisis. And obviously, when we are maintaining this buffer, it should be staple food, which can handle hunger. So obviously, our focus will be on rice and wheat. The maintenance of buffer, obviously you need to maintain rice and wheat. So other things you will think about it later, but obviously you have to focus on staple food crops, and therefore that point of time, the FCI, Food Corporation of India godowns were filled with, they wanted to fill FCI godowns with the staple crop, that is rice and wheat. This is still, the story is still, we are in 1965. I hope till there things are clear. Okay. Now, so with respect to industry, government was following what? License Raj. With respect to industry, government was focused on license Raj. Mixed economic model, kind of socialism, extended form, a milder form. We use the word mixed economy. And we followed a model of license Raj where companies have to take license to set up any small industry also license is required. It clearly indicates government control over industry. It clearly indicates government's regulation over industry. This is one understanding after independence. Second understanding after independence is we were dependent on cheap imports from US called as PL 480 scheme of US. That means we were dependent on a country like US for even basic necessities like food grains. So it clearly shows that India was not self-sufficient with respect to basic food grains. Though India was calling itself as an agrarian economy, you call yourself as an agrarian economy, we were not self-sufficient with respect to food grain, and we were dependent on a country like US through this scheme called PL 480. What is the challenge if you depend on countries like US? Tomorrow they can say we will stop PL 480. Okay, if they stop PL 480 and India does not have enough indigenous production, your domestic production, then people may die hungry. Already we have a very bad experience with people like Winston Churchill. He's a useless man. Okay, that Bengal, the famine which we have seen, it is purely man-made. Of course, people were dying, kids were dying, bones were out. And he believed that he does not have any respect for brown skin. Okay, and basically it is a man-made famine. That point of time, even Subhash Chandra Bose wanted to send some grains, but basically because of ideological differences, okay, he was not able to send. Now the grains which were already there were also taken away. Suppose the Japanese forces come there, they should not survive. Okay, so with that logic, if you take them grains away, let people die, let Indians die, we are least bothered. So this is the experience we already had with respect to famine. It's not new. So over dependence on other countries for basic necessities is always a challenge. So becoming self-sufficient with respect to agriculture is very important. So we said, yes, we will focus on agriculture in the first 5-year plan, but immediately shifted to heavy industry, because Nehruji believed that focus on heavy industry will increase our economic growth. Our growth will grow at a faster pace. Why and all I'll talk about it. So we suddenly shifted from agriculture to heavy industry. Nothing significant we did till mid-60s. India never does anything significant unless we are in crisis. Generally, that is the reason there is this essay topic also, that from great crisis comes great change. From great crisis comes great change. In 1990, India was in great crisis, financial crisis, and we were compelled to bring reforms. We were compelled, and that reform is basically what you see in the form of globalization, etc. Are you able to get this? From great crisis comes great change. For example, in your first attempt, if I give you advice, you'll say, chalo bolo. But the same thing if I do in the fourth attempt, probably. Say, yes sir, batao. Kya karna hai? Okay, fifth and sixth means, please tell sir. Okay, so now this is basically crisis. Crisis means what? No solution. Difficult situation is something like I'll find for a solution. Crisis is you're already gone. There is no solution visible. Okay, so here what we observe is 1960s issues were there with respect to drought, people dying, etc. So you wanted to do something. One aspect there is coming up with this institution called FCI, or Food Corporation of India. Is this clear till there? Okay, now coming to the discussion of the word called as trade. Now here some NCERT basics will come. Trade. When I use the word trade, what does trade mean? Very difficult question. Buying and selling. Okay, so in economic terms, okay, I will use two terms here. One, I use a word called open economy. Okay, and another word is something like the closed economy. One is open, another one is closed. So India after independence was more of a closed economy. India after independence was more of a closed economy. So what I mean by close is basically there is something like no trade. Okay, no trade. So we are not interested in trade. Closed economy. Of course, India was more of a closed. Does not mean we are completely closed. Okay, what does open economy mean? When I use the word open economy is that economy where there is trade. I think you're getting my point here. Okay, so when I use the word trade here, trade basically deals with two aspects. One is imports and another one is exports. Trade basically deals with two aspects. One is import and another one is export. So import is something like I am buying goods from other countries, goods or whatever it is, services. Okay, this is import. So here basically fixed to goods. Okay, so we are buying goods from other countries. Export is basically we are selling goods to other countries. As simple as that. This is what is export. Now, India after independence was more of a closed economy. India after independence, not completely, but India after independence was more of a closed economy. India today is more of an open economy. As simple as that. India today is more of an open economy. India in 1947, just after independence, and 1960s, India was more of a closed economy. So when I use the word closed economy, it means basically there is no trade. We do not find completely open nor completely closed economies. We don't find completely open nor completely, it's a theoretical concept. Okay, that time also we were importing some machines, etc. Are you able to get this? So, but India was more a closed economy during that point of time. Today, India is more of a open economy. That difference should be clear. So one is closed, another one is open. I think it is clear. So just jot down the words, that's all. Jot down the words. Is that okay? So, what was the last? Oh, fiscal stimulus. Fiscal stimulus. Okay. Then mention 4 E's of bureaucracy. 4 E's of bureaucracy. Economy, comma, efficiency, comma, effectiveness. Economy, comma, efficiency, comma, effectiveness, comma, equity. equity. Okay. Is that clear? Okay. Next word. Era of license Raj. Era of license Raj. Era of license Raj. Just mention. India focused on stringent government control in the format of licenses for starting a new industry or increasing the production. Is that okay? Next, just mention first 5-year plan, focus on agriculture. Just mention first 5-year plan, focus on agriculture. Is that okay? Below that, PL 480, Public Law 480, PL 480, scheme through which India was importing cheap food grains from US. India was importing cheap food grains from US. Okay. Next, FCI, Food Corporation of India. It was established in 1965. To ensure food security. Is that okay? It can also be seen as, just write down same line, it can also be seen as institutionalization of PDS. PDS is Public Distribution System. Those who do not know, please mention the full form. Public Distribution System, a separate chapter. Public Distribution System, PDS. Okay, so basically the ration shops, all that. Okay, so it is also called as institutionalization of PDS. Is that okay? Then next word, closed economy. Where there is no trade. Open economy, where there is trade. Just mention, we do not find completely open nor completely closed economies. Is the speed okay? I'm very slow. You will get to know slowly, don't worry. Okay. India was more of a closed economy after independence. India was more of a closed economy after independence. And currently India is more of an open economy. Class is not over. Okay. Is this okay till there? Okay. Huh. See, basically, US, so it wants to expand its markets, as simple as that. Capitalism, in capitalism, first of all, there will be a hidden intention. So US doesn't love India. It is as good as maintaining good relations with India, number one, or you want to expand your markets. See, in the logic of capitalism today, so if you know, today if we see, how can capitalism expand or create more wealth? You can do it by expansion of your markets, as simple as that. No, capitalist countries always try to expand its market. For that, two things. One is, even in the developing countries, people should be surviving and people should be alive. Today, why is India respected across the globe? Of course, one, we can say, yes, our government is doing a good job. Okay. Then why is that India is given such importance is, obviously, India's purchasing power has increased. We have the capacity of demand creation, obviously. I think you're getting my point. Our incomes are increasing. The best of the best cars, the best of the best industries, companies are coming into India. Ask them to go to Pakistan. I'm just asking. I think you're getting my point. No. So ask them to go to Pakistan or Afghanistan. So the whole logic here is, on one side, yes, it is about the political stability and the decisions which we take. India is more assertive in the international platforms. Before 2014, before 2011, so we had several problems. For example, if you know, US asked India not to buy oil from Iran. Iran and India were biryani friends from the beginning. This is called as cultural ties. All biryani, paradise, all that. The best of the best brands from Hyderabad, basically. So if you see, everything is from Iran. We had cultural ties as well. And still, when US said, don't buy oil from Iran, India stopped buying oil from Iran and we shifted to Iraq. We shifted to Iraq, because of which our oil prices have increased. Are you able to get this? Iran was supplying the best. There was some reason for that. Mohammad Ahmadinejad, during that point of time, the Iran's head, was manufacturing some nuclear related activity, going against the principles of certain nuclear treaties. You'll read it in the international relations. US imposed sanctions. UN imposed sanctions is okay. US imposed sanctions. US is saying, don't do this. Now, suppose there is now present situation, Russian war. Okay, and still India buys oil from Russia. And Jaishankar was asked, why is it that India supporting war? His answer is very simple. We go and tell them, buy the best oil possible. And Russia is supplying the cheapest oil, we will go and buy it from Russia. Never India had this assertive nature. Assertive. You are becoming assertive in the political platforms is because one is economic strength as well. Most important. Are you able to get this? You are completely dependent on other countries. You don't know what will happen to you. Okay, so your survival itself is dependent. Then one is political diplomacy. I do accept one is political diplomacy, but that alone will not make you assertive. You need to be confident. Having 10 crores in the bank account and speaking is different from having 10 rupees in the bank account. As simple as that. Though you may boast of. No, I'm not like that. Money doesn't matter. Money is nothing for me. No. You can't speak a word. You can't take decisions. Same applies to economics. You are economically stronger, you are more assertive in the international platforms. One is ideology, I do agree, but other side, so India is basically, slowly India is becoming an economic strength, and therefore, you are respected and you are able to be assertive. India is good with Ukraine, India is good with Russia. Earlier, even our missiles are going into Pakistan nowadays. And we are also saying misfired. Did ever our missile enter into Pakistan? No, it's misfired. What? Is it a pistol or what? Okay, it's a missile, it went, BrahMos, then we say, okay, it misfired, it went, somehow some button went off, and therefore, now see, this, that's okay. So, I think you're getting my point. So, one is defense strength, but more than defense, along with defense, I don't say more than, but along with defense, it is the economic strength. You're being assertive in the international platforms. You're able to take independent decisions. You're buying oil from Russia. If you are dependent on other countries like US for PL 480, feeding our population, and such a huge country like India, you cannot depend on food imports to handle problems related to hunger. You're not a small Switzerland, or you're not a Singapore, where you import food and manage hunger. That is not possible for such a huge country with such huge population. You have to become self-sufficient with respect to food, grains, agriculture, subsequently industry. Our effort was there. Okay, so India, one is with respect to food security, you need to become self-sufficient. Okay, and several other factors also, I'll talk about it subsequently. So one aspect which we strive to become self-sufficient was aspects related to food security. Aspect related to food security. And in that process, FCI is one important link. Although in India, whatever we come up with for the benefit of the country generally turns out to become bad. Are you able to get my point now? So in India, whatever reforms we try to bring for the benefit turns out to become bad. For example, GST in 2017. You know about GST. The word GST. Of course, you will discuss in the taxing. We said GST is going to be one of the greatest reforms ever. And definitely, yes, accepted. But if you can read some case studies at the now, currently, Indian traders are so intelligent. They have already found loopholes in the system. And there is hell a lot of corruption that has started in the GST system. Are you able to get my point now? Okay, so it has gone to such an extent. Income tax has become faceless. So earlier when we were filling options, IAS, IPS, and then we used to fill IRS, IT. Now students are filling customs first. No questions asked. Okay, so now more transparency we will not fill. Now the question here is, in India, many reforms were brought in from the beginning. For example, even FCI. If FCI would have been a private institution, it would have been sued long back. Sued? Okay, why? Because they started maintaining more than what is required. The food grains which they're stocking, and they stock it in the open, and which you can't feed anybody. They are rotting in the open and the food grains are wasted. So something that you have come up for food security has turned out negative, increasing food inflation in the economy. You procure a lot of food grain than required and you waste it out because you do not know how to store it. Are you able to get my point? So that means food supply in the market is going to decrease and it will also have inflationary effect, no food prices in the market. So generally when you observe the evolution of the economy, most of the time what we have done, many times whatever reforms which we brought in, which we have implemented, though they were implemented for the sake of betterment of the society, they have turned out to become negative over a period of time. Are you able to get this? Okay, so that is the reason there was one essay also, crisis faced by India, moral or economic? Moral, both moral and economic. More than economics, India's problem was ethical or moral. For example, when we said we wanted to implement socialism, right? So socialism means you have to reduce concentration of wealth. Yes or no? So for which we decided to come up with land reforms. Land reforms, heard of the word land reform? So giving away land to the landless. In one word of land reform is, there is a lot of concentration of land in few hands. Because of the British rule, zamindari system. So there was too much of concentration of land. I'll talk about it tomorrow. Too much of concentration of land in few hands. So you wanted to distribute land to the landless. And the reason for failure of land reforms is as much moral as well as administrative. You can't say it is purely administrative problem. It failed. It is not just because of administration. It is also because of morality. That is the basic difference between countries like Japan and India. In spite of Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Japan has become one of the developed countries. And one reason is the moral fabric is also strong. I'm not saying India it's not strong. But compared to Japan is a very small island, Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu. These are the 4 small islands which are there. And a country which could make such a big difference in terms of technology, etc. Are able to, that too after such a huge disaster. Are able to, if I have to compare, India is great, definitely, no doubt about it. But we also have to learn from other countries. So today at least India is able to open up. India is able to speak out and be assertive. One is obviously our economic strength. And when I use the word economic growth, tomorrow I'll talk about it. When I use the word economic growth, in India, we measure economic growth using the word called GDP. Of course, calculations and all in national income class, but economic growth is measured using the concept GDP, and we'll just, yeah. When? You're talking about when? Today? You're talking about the olden days? Now? Now we are okay. No, I'm talking about 60s. Now India, India is after green revolution, first green revolution, we have excess grains. I'll talk about this tomorrow. We'll talk. So overweight. Write the word and stop there. What is the word? GDP, gross domestic product. That's all. Stop there. GDP. In India, economic growth is measured using the concept called GDP. Okay, economic growth, and just write the full form and leave it. Gross domestic product.